Hi everybody, welcome to A Case of the Jills. Okay, so I just had my hair cut today, and where are my curly girls at? You know, when you get your hair cut and they have to comb it out, it gets a little big and frizzy, so I'm kinda expanded for your viewing pleasure today. Okay, let's start this video off by saying this was not planned at all. In fact, I'm not really even sure how to introduce this topic, so I'm just gonna go for it. The first thing I need to say is that when I am not an expert on a topic, I am the first one to admit it. This is one of those occasions where I am definitely not an expert on this topic at all. For those of you who do have experience with this or who have thoughts on it, I would love it if you would either leave your comments below, email me acaseofthejills@gmail.com, or find some other way to share your thoughts with me. I am very interested in what you have to say. Please correct me if I get anything wrong on this video. That goes without saying. Of course, there are those of you who might just want to say to me, welcome girl, we've been waiting for you. As I'm sure you guessed from the title of this video, we are talking about alcohol today. And when I get nervous, I go right to science, so let's go to science. Some fun facts to start the party off on the right foot. The first fact is that alcohol is a toxin. It kills microorganisms and cells, and guess what? We happen to be made of cells. It's not just when you binge drink, it's not just hard alcohol, it's not what happens after the first glass. All the time, any amount, it's a toxin. Which brings us to fact number 2. There is no medically safe dosage of alcohol. Alcohol has to be metabolized into acetaldehyde, which is even more toxic. Any exposure of alcohol can potentially lead to addiction. Bringing us to the final fact that I'm going to talk about right now, one of my favorites. Despite what we've been told over the years, there is no benefit to drinking even a small amount of alcohol. Yes, I know, 1 glass of red wine, blah, blah, blah-bitty blah. I've heard it all before. I'm older than you, remember? You can look at all the studies and all the facts out there. When you take away the marketing garbage, the message is clear. The risk of accidents, diseases, and cancer, etc. rises across the board when we drink alcohol. Oh my God, the frizz. Okay, so let's talk about how this affects our community. If you're watching this channel, you're probably trying to get your period back, or you've gotten your period back and you'd like to keep it. Being honest, there is no way that I can fit all of the information that I need to tell you about the link between alcohol and your menstrual cycle in one video, so I'm not going to try. So there will be several more. However, I'd like to start this off by giving you some basic bullet points. Alcohol disrupts the HPA axis. You know that thing that gives us the right hormones at the right time so that we can actually get a period? Yeah, that thing. Bullet point number 2. Alcohol increases cortisol production. You've been watching this channel long enough to know that this is no bueno. And finally, in the interest of keeping this video under 3 hours, I would like to tell you about one study in particular that was done at Harvard. It's called Neuroendocrine Consequences of Alcohol Use in Women. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I posted a picture of a piece of the study when I was looking at it online. The first part of that paragraph is actually the sentence that I would like to read to you today. Alcohol-related luteal dysfunction and anovulation have been observed in healthy, well-nourished women. They looked at social drinkers in this study, which were women who would drink about 3 drinks a night. All of the women in this study did have alterations to their menstrual cycle as a result of their alcohol use. And yes, it is true that it was dose dependent, meaning the more you drank, the more your menstrual cycle would be altered. However, they did observe changes as a result of alcohol use. Now, not to call us out or anything, but if you're watching A Case of the Jills, healthy and well-nourished are not necessarily a given. So in healthy, well-nourished women, they've had alterations in their menstrual cycle due to alcohol use. Like, where does that leave a lot of us? I have to pause here again because we have a lot to talk about on this topic. There is a lot to unpack here. We have to talk about how much we're drinking, when we're drinking, and why we're drinking, how often we're drinking. What are we drinking? We need to understand, are we drinking because of anxiety relief? Are we drinking out of boredom? Are we drinking because we're trying to numb ourselves? Are we drinking because everyone else is doing it? Maybe it's our peer group. Maybe it's the people that we associate with. Maybe we participate in a sport where it's practically a rule to pop open a beer at the finish line. Did I just say that? No, I didn't say that. I'm not gonna point fingers at anyone. Come on, we've all been there. I get it. We're gonna talk about all of this, but you know what? This is the script, like, I'm done. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me. Okay, like I said, this was totally unexpected. My history with alcohol. Okay, well, being honest, I grew up with an alcoholic uncle. He was my favorite uncle. He was the life of the party, literally. He was so much fun. I have the best memories of him when I was a kid. I can remember in the summertime we would all hang out at the beach house, and he would be there like dancing with the lobsters in the kitchen. Like we would be making lobsters, you know, and he'd take them out of the bag and he would like hold up a little claw. This is probably like animal abuse, I know, I'm sorry. Hey, it was the 80s, what can I tell you? And he would like take the claw and he'd be like dancing and music was going. He smoked a million cigarettes and he just was this big figure in my life. He was also a rip-roaring alcoholic and practically destroyed the entire family. In fact, my dad and his brother still have a really difficult relationship, and unfortunately, I don't talk to my uncle at all. Over the years, my brother and I have tried to reach out to him and also his son 1,000,001 times, and you know what? There was just something irrevocably broken in that time. So I'm telling you this because my thoughts of alcohol growing up were not positive at all. I was never flippant in my attitude toward alcohol. I always knew that there was this thing called alcoholism and that it was very destructive. Believe it or not, in college, I didn't really drink that much. I was afraid of vomiting. So because I was such a wuss, I never actually got drunk. I would drink enough to feel a buzz and then I would get nervous and kind of stop. Then when I got diagnosed with celiac disease when I was 25, I stopped drinking entirely because at the time I was confused about what alcohol would trigger symptoms and what wouldn't. I had a lot of lousy information, so in order just to stop there being any possibility of me getting sick, I just stopped drinking entirely. Of course, as time went on, I got to understand what was okay for me with celiac and what wasn't, and so, you know, I guess you would say I'm a, moderate to low-level person who drinks. And I'm that girl who posts my glass of Prosecco on Instagram. You've seen me do it before. I live in Italy. We go out and have a glass of wine. We do aperitivo. We go sit somewhere and see something beautiful and order a glass of wine. There's wine with dinner. I don't particularly drink wine with lunch, but it's here. It's what people do. Paradoxically, no one's ever drunk here, but somehow alcohol is always around. My first couple of months here in Italy, my menstrual cycle was long. It was veering toward 34, 35 days. In the first couple of months that I was here. The same kind of thing happened to me last year, and it seemed to be directly related to the jet lag, the time change. It seemed to really throw my body off. This year was particularly stressful in the move because this was a big move. Not to mention the fact that I was studying, I was going to school, I was trying to produce papers, and you guys know, you've heard me talk about my hip. I have a labral tear in my hip. That was incredibly stressful to me. No more running. So for a lot of different reasons, I think my cortisol level, my stress hormones or whatever, have been quite high. I have done a lot of different things to try to correct this situation. I've really put a lot more emphasis on meditating for a longer time and more frequently during the week. You guys know I'm only walking. I can't even run even if I wanted to, but I very much keep an eye on how much I'm walking since life here is about walking. We don't use a car. I am even more concerned about my nutrition, so I am really watching everything and making sure that I'm eating enough. I'm making sure that I'm sleeping enough. I feel like I'm doing everything right, except maybe for this one thing. Understanding the role that alcohol may play in the menstrual cycle absolutely shocked me to no end. I really had no idea, or maybe I just didn't think of looking into it in the way that I have recently. I think I'm a 2 glass of wine a night kind of girl, so it just didn't seem like it was gonna be a problem. But I can see now that if you have 2 glasses of wine a night and it's 3 or 4 or even 5 nights a week, that's potentially a problem. So what was kind of the thing that really hit me over the head with this? We had some guests. They were here for over a week. We drank every day. And at the end of that 10-day period, I felt like absolute garbage. I just was exhausted. I was puffy. I was miserable. I was tired. I just physically felt terrible. So here's what I'm telling you. Today is going to be 3 weeks since my last drink. Tomorrow will be exactly 3 weeks that I have not had alcohol at all. I don't think I've actually said that out loud at all to anyone. I have definitely had to make the excuse of why I'm not drinking to friends when we've been out. I have definitely mentioned it to my very good friends that I chit chat with via text, but I don't think I've actually said it out loud. So here we go. Tomorrow will be 3 weeks that I don't drink alcohol. And yes, wow, I have so much to say about this. And as I said, in efforts to not make this video a million hours long, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here. I am doing this because I want to see what happens to my menstrual cycle. I want to see what happens to my body. I have learned, and I didn't actually mention this in the beginning part of the video, but I have learned that there's a really specific link between, you know, obviously we're talking about HPA axis, like yes, the thyroid is involved and I have hypothyroid. So there's so much to this, you guys. You can see that I obviously didn't write any notes down. This is what happens when Jill talks out of her butt. I'm doing this because I want to see what happens to my body. I want to understand it better. I want to see if I can shorten my cycle a little bit. I want to see if I can learn something new. I want to see if I can be something new. I don't know. This is all new for me, okay? So I just wanted to share this with you today because I think it's important. I think that as I'm noticing, there's a big wave of people, women, especially women my age and a little bit younger, that have decided to quit alcohol for one reason or another, and not all of them are what people would term, you know, substance abusers or alcoholics. Not all of them hit a rock bottom. Not all of them did something terrible that, you know, they had to quit alcohol forever. It's not about that. And I'm not saying forever either for myself, because I truly do not know, and it's too early for me to make that call. But I will tell you what, I have told myself that I'm going to give myself 2 months without alcohol and see what happens. And I don't know. All I can say is this: so far so good. I've got a lot to tell you about what's been happening in my body. What my plan is to go for a full month, so 30 full days. So next week I'll do a video on, you know, 4 weeks with no alcohol and tell you all about what's been happening. Guys, out of all the stuff that I've talked about with you on this channel, I've talked to you about my boobs hurting and poop and like 90 million other things, and you've seen me be silly and you've seen me be real, you've seen me cry before, but I feel the most vulnerable I've ever felt in front of you today making this video. I really do. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Thank you for following me on Instagram. You know, I'm like not even using Facebook anymore. I'm sorry, I can't get down with Facebook right now, so don't hate me for that. But if you want to reach out to me, please email me at caseofthejills@gmail.com. Please go to my website. There's blog posts up there. You can download a free copy of the ebook. You can purchase the ebook where there's over 50 questions answered, commonly asked questions about hypothalamic amenorrhea and overtraining syndrome. And you guys, thank you for sticking with me on this video today. I love you to death, and let's see what happens, okay? Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Thanks for watching.